And I can confirm, yes, the fans definitely heard that one. I muted that intentionally. Your thoughts, Jordy?
I am speechless, I guess, would be the best way to put it right now.
Well, I mean, drivers got to go all out. We might as well go all out as well. But let's get to the starting grid here for the Firecracker 200. On the front row, we got Mike Marini here on the pole in his number 12 Toyota. Alongside him, we got the reigning Rookie of the Year in the number 1 Chevrolet of C.D. Magram. And now here on the second row, we got rookie number 3, Dylan Baum in the Toyota, once again starting up front again on a super speedway. And to his outside, the number 7 Chevrolet of Andy Hurdle will start 4th.
All right, well, let's move on to row 3 now. And rounding out the top 5 is Season 1 Earl Ross Cup champion Ryan Gibson there in 5th in the number 23 Chevy. He's got a guy who's already locked in the form of Hunter Young, Talladega winner for company there in 6th. On to row 4, and we've got the man who currently is best of the rest right now, the number 88 of Scott Bailey. He'll start 7th. And he's got his NBR running mate and Atlanta race winner Matthew Patak on his outside. He'll start 8th in the number 21 Chevy.
And then moving on, we got the number 6 Ford of Justin Belmonte in 9th place. And rounding at the top 10 will be the number 17, a points leader, Chevrolet Corbin McCauley. And then moving on here to the next row, we got the number 10 Chevrolet in 11th. That is Jason Butler. To his outside will be the number 64 Chevrolet of Darcy Ford.
Moving on to row 7 now, we've got the number 33 Chevy of Jonathan Peden, one of the 2 Floridians here in tonight's lineup. He'll start 13th. Now we get to the defending Earl Ross Cup champion Ty Higginbotham, the number 97 Toyota out of Asheville, North Carolina. He starts 14th. On to row 8 now, the other Floridian in the field, the number 41 Ford of Jose Mercado, starting 15th. He'll have Michael Wolford on his outside in 16th. In the number 36 Chevy.
And now the final 2 rows here. We got the number 93 Chevrolet of Tom Janikowski starting in 17th. And then we got to his outside, that will be last week's winner of the Wingsnot 250 at Texas Motor Speedway, the number 13 Chevrolet of Jared Ireland. Now here on the final row, oh my goodness, it is the number 2 Ford of Daniel Cudmore, 19th place. And rounding out the field to make it a 20-car field for tonight's Firecracker 200, it's the number 98 Ford of Mark Cox. So these 2 guys, again, are below the cut line, but both of them have shown the pace on the super speedways to very well upset everyone and get the job done and potentially lock themselves into the Earl Ross Cup playoffs. But again, it can only be one of them.
Yeah, it could be a Hail Mary for anyone outside the top 16, but one of those guys is on pole position. I think things are spicy already here, Riggs.
Indeed so, but again, though, it's Marini in first, and then looking at the rest of the grid here, Butler's in 11th right there, the last guy above the playoff cut line, and then Mercado's 15th, Cudmore 19th, and Cox 20th. So there's definitely a lot of separation for guys, or for Butler above the cut line, then the 4 guys that are below the cut line. So we're seeing a lot of diversity here throughout this starting grid, and as the cars will roll off turn 4, the pace car will also roll off, but he will head on to pit road. The cars will head to the start-finish line. One last race in the regular season of Season 4. We're underway. Daytona International Speedway, the World Center of Racing. The Firecracker 200 is underway.
Great jump there from both Marini and Baum. That inside line looking real good here in the very opening meters.
So as the field comes down the back straightaway, about 4 or 5 cars deep on the inside line, single file. C.D. Magram now makes it 3 cars as he's going to send his number 1 Chevrolet up there side by side with Scott Bailey. Only 4 cars there on the high side. There is one other guy towards the very back. I believe that's Jose Mercado. Falling back a little bit right there. But Mike Marini, his number 12 Exalta Toyota, is going to lead lap 1 of the Firecracker 200. And again, I just want to keep giving that reminder to everyone. It's only 25 laps per the first 2 stages. And then it's another 5 more laps there for that third stage. So again, there's a lot less time, and there's going to be a lot more on the line when it comes to getting some extra stage points, especially. I would say in particular for guys that may already be locked in, or, those guys that still don't have a win yet but are pretty much mathematically locked in, you still want to get those extra points so that you can have somewhat of an advantage heading into the Earl Ross Cup playoffs. And again, too, we could quite literally look back at this race as a potential deciding factor for who could become the Season 4 champion, the first champion on iRacing.
And if we're going to talk about reminders here, Riggs, I think we have to go back to even before the season started. There was a certain Daytona test. I didn't watch all of it, but I know you were there. Why don't you remind the people who wound up winning that?
Indeed so. That was in fact your leader, the number 12 on Mike Marini. It wasn't in the most, maybe to some drivers, maybe not the most fair fashion. I'll say it was controversial fashion, as Marini was bump drafting. I don't recall who it was exactly, but Marini was bump drafting someone down the back straightaway and inevitably bumping a little too much, sent the car around, big wreck heading into turn 3. Marini was able to walk away or drive away scot-free, and take the victory in that preseason non-broadcaster race, of course. It was not for the public, so he does have a Daytona win on his resume, not officially, but he does have that experience, so there's no surprise to see him here up front. It's just, again, in the regular season with official points races, that unofficial win hasn't translated per se.
No, it definitely hasn't, and I mean, that's why he finds himself, 22 points outside the playoff picture as they took the green flag here tonight. So essentially it is really very much winning you're in for the 17 through 20. Really, even mathematically, there isn't a whole lot of wiggle room there. Just got to get the job done here tonight if you're any of those 4 who still have a shot on the outside.
Indeed so it is now looking about 5, maybe it might eventually become 6 cars deep on the inside single file. It's Marini, Dylan Baum, who's won 4 poles this season, still has yet to get a victory. There's Ryan Gibson, the number 23, who has had a bit of a roller coaster of a campaign, a guy who is kind of maybe similar to a guy like Scott Bailey in recent seasons. I think you might have a little bit more to say about that, but Gibby, on the other hand, has been a little bit more inconsistent. He's more lower in the points right now. If I take a look right now, he currently sits 13th in points, which, based on his overall experience in the Canadian Motorsports Network NASCAR series, he would definitely want to be, in a better position. But then again, though, all the points reset once we get to the Earl Ross Cup playoffs. He could very well have a turnaround come playoff time whenever we go to Richmond next Tuesday night. And also,
the thing about Gibby, 7 victories in total. His last one, the Daytona night race in Season 2.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yes, that's why I'm glad to have you there, because you know about the history before whenever I finally showed up here to the network, of course. But again, another thing I wanted to mention, too, was that someone could very well do a sort of Jimmy Johnson, where quite literally in the regular season, you still try to at least mathematically lock yourself into the playoffs. But as soon as the playoffs come around, that's the point when you really have to start, shaking things up and really start going for it. And there could very well be a lot of those guys towards the bottom of that, playoff field, as where the standings are right now. Those guys could start coming out of nowhere and, start fighting for it. Maybe some of the top guys in the standings might start to falter more. Literally anything is possible, just like pretty much tonight's race here at Daytona.
And that was Mike Nickens in Season 3, if you recall.
Yes.
That was kind of how that went. No regular season wins, but was it 2 or 3 playoff victories? Minimum 2, I know that.
Yeah, that would have been Michigan and Las Vegas, I believe it was.
Ding, ding, ding. Give the man a prize.
So, yes, he won Michigan and Las Vegas last season, and both of those races were actually the first race of each round that he ended up winning in. I think, round 1, and then was it 2 or 3? Was it 2 or 3?
It was 3.
It was
Vegas
3, yes.
win put him in the championship 4.
Yeah, okay. I guess the way I'll put it is I knew that, but I also didn't. So my memory was trying to get there, and I knew it was something like that. I just couldn't really tell for sure, but appreciate the clarification there, of course. So indeed, yes, he won the first playoff race in the first round in Michigan, and then round 2 he didn't win anything. He made his way in on points, and then of course round 3, first race at Las Vegas, he locks himself into the championship 4. Of course, it's unfortunate that we don't have him here for Season 4 because he could have very well put on an outstanding performance as a sophomore. Hopefully not had a sophomore slump in any case, but hopefully maybe down the line he may end up making a return in some capacity. Would you know at all if he's into iRacing at all, or maybe some of the road stuff that we might be having down the line, like maybe Dart?
That is... I feel like I know that answer, but it's not one that I have right offhand.
All right, yeah. No, that makes sense, but yeah. And we also would hope that Nickens would be tuning in to watch our races. We definitely would appreciate his support. He was a very, very likable guy, one of the more popular drivers on the grid last season, so we appreciate having him back in Season 3, of course, and whenever he does come back, if he ever does, then he is very welcomed, obviously. We're getting back to this racing here. Now it's about 3 cars here, single file on the inside between Marini, Baum, and Gibson, who have remained the top 3 for this entirety here of this first stage so far. Meanwhile, you got Andy Hurdle and C.D. Magrum there side by side for 4th place. There's been some runs. There's been times where that outside line falls back. It's just been kind of, back and forth right there. But what matters to Mike Marini right now is he's leading every single lap, although I would kind of think right now, though, you would maybe think with him, he would probably want to have this situation more maybe on the final lap or coming right off a turn 4 to the checkered rather than now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, your restrictor plate tracks, your super speedways, like, drafting's going to be at a premium, a little bit of conservation, but Marini's been at the head of the field the entire way here. He's been the one driving this proverbial train here. So you'd have to think that would be, a little bit more taxing on the number 12, and that could ultimately favor, someone like Jason Butler, who just moved up into, well, I was about to say 5th, drop back down to 6th, but he's made that move from 11th. So that's the guy, again, on the bubble to begin the evening. He's doing his best to try and make sure he's competitive here very early on and looking to hold that through the end.
Of course, the number 10 Chevrolet is sponsored by Rampage Coffee Co., Wing Snob, and Kyle's Fried Chicken. Judging by the scheme right there, Piping Kettle Soup Co., I believe is what I see on the side there. I don't know about the hood exactly, but a very nice paint scheme for Jason Butler right there. And again, Hurdle and Magrum getting close right there for 4th place. That outside line is really trying to catch up and start going, having double file from 1st backwards, but instead it's 3rd backwards at the moment. But one thing I'm noticing here, we got a 3-car pack now just coming out of turn 4, going through the tri-oval. That would be Janikowski, Cudmore, and Scott Bailey. Mark Cox started last, but he decided to catch up in his number 98. That'd be Kit Kat Ford. He decided to catch up to the field and instead of staying back with these other guys here, of course. Again, Janikowski mathematically, based on your calculations, not eligible to get into the playoffs, even if he were to win a race. Meanwhile, Cudmore is eligible on the other hand. He's trying to stay conservative here, as he does usually almost every single race. And then there's Bailey trying to, stay out of trouble right there. Again, a guy that, again, the number 88 has been very long overdue for a win this season. He's been extremely consistent. He's had 10 top 10s in a row. So, again, he's gotten multiple podiums recently, too, as well. Every single race there's been, he's there, but he just isn't able to get the job done, particularly against guys like Corbin McCauley and Jared Ireland.
Yeah, he's kind of the guy we've talked about playing, the long game a lot. This might be a little bit extreme. Started in 7th and now is at the back. But I think the bigger story right now is we've got a change at the front. Number 1 was number 1, Marini getting it back on the inside line.
Indeed, knowing that outside line was slowly gaining there on that inside line with that draft right there, I knew whenever we would go back to that 3-car pack, I just had that feeling that we would go back and all of a sudden it would just be double file everywhere. I'm not surprised by that whatsoever, but yes, CD Magram now to the lead, but he did kind of have it single file there, but now he's battling side by side there with Mike Marini there to the inside. Again, the number 1 Chevrolet CD Magram from Atlanta, Georgia, sponsored by Nordic Aluminum Incorporated, A1 Grassroots Lawn Maintenance and Landscaping, and I got to read that more, Marcor Construction Incorporated, McBride Transmissions. So a lot of sponsors there for the number 1 Chevrolet, who's running, I believe that's a red and white Coca-Cola scheme, if my eyes are looking correctly right there. Marini's going to lead that lap right there. We're now on lap 16 of 80 here in the Firecracker 200. And we now have 10 laps to go in the first stage. Again, it's 25 laps in Stage 1 and Stage 2, 30 in Stage 3. So this stage has been, it's been ticking by. Drivers are logging laps, and they are able to, especially here, double file. It's been pretty solid here. I think we kind of saw something similar back at Talladega early on. It was a completely different story back in Atlanta, of course. But again, too, knowing that we don't have any more faster pairs, and knowing that there's less time here versus at the GTR 250, like a lot's on the line. But these guys are able to. These guys are proving that they're able to keep things double file and not, wreck them up.
And I think what we're seeing here now is we've just moved on to lap 17 here. I think, remember what we were just talking about a minute ago with Mike Marini kind of driving the train here, so to speak? He's content now to tuck in behind CD Magram on that inside line. Justin Belmonte currently your leader, but for Marini, again, that's a lot of additional effort exerted on that number 12, and is actually tucked in behind. Well, Belmonte's taking the inside line. It wasn't that Marini lost a place, but that's ultimately what went down there. And yeah, I think Marini won't necessarily mind this reprieve, especially if he's got to be fighting much later on when it really, really counts.
Indeed so, and we got a guy who we're a little bit more familiar with back on the road courses in previous seasons, especially back in Season 3, but this guy also was decent on the ovals, and I think even on the super speedways as well. That's the number 33, let me get this correct. GTR, driving for GTR, sponsored by Martin Boys Remodeling Incorporated. That explains the MBR logo on his side right there. Had to quickly make sure of that one, but the 33 is leading the way here. He hasn't had exactly the greatest season compared to how, again, last season went, and the thing is, too, this guy is coming off, 2 seasons in a row, I believe. Both times he finished runner-up in points. Both times in the Final Four, he finished second. So it's just, he's trying to go for the third time's the charm, but based on where he is in the standings right now and how his overall performances have been transitioning to iRacing versus NASCAR Heat 5, it's just hasn't really been the same. I mean, 12th isn't, terrible, but it's definitely not to his standards based on his overall resume.
But I think it's fair to say that, the first few races, there was an adjustment period. There was some difficulty in there. I think there may have even been a missed race in there at one point. But ultimately, Peden finding some pace as we're going to see some pit stops.
Indeed, we're going to see some pit stops. We saw a couple guys coming down pit road from the backpack. I believe that was Cudmore. Yeah, it was all 3 guys, Bailey, Jankowski, and Cudmore. So maybe that might explain why those guys were staying more back, maybe trying to think of some strategies right there. But a bunch of cars coming down pit road. Oh, and trouble for Dylan Baum. He gets turned into his pit stall. I believe that was contact with CD Magram.
Yes, it would be.
Oh, and Belmonte's going to have trouble getting out of his pit stall as well. So a couple shenanigans going on right there with a couple guys in the pit lane. So that's going to cost Dylan Baum a lot of time. Magram ends up falling back there as well. And trying to again see as this other pack of cars now come down pit road, trying to see, I think Corbin McCauley might have been the first car off of pit road out of that group.
I think he was.
So he took full advantage of everything that just happened there. And we'll take a look here at these guys on pit road. I think Wolfer might have had a bit of an awkward entry into his pit box. And he gets hit from behind in an invisible manner.
And I have to wonder if maybe there was kind of an alternate strategy in place there for Macaulay as well, because, again, 5 laps until you're out of caution. Why not try something for 5 laps if you think it might work?
Indeed, so on lap 21 of 80 here, Jared Ireland leading the way as there's going to be a bunch of cars here at full speed coming around turns 1 and 2. And that would be Corbin Macaulay leading the way here as he is rushing around these other guys right here. And it looks as though he's going to get in behind Wolford, give him a bump here and try and help him out. There's a 4-car pack there coming in behind with Marini. Let me get this on leaderboard. It'd be Marini, Mercado, Belmonte, and Ford, who all have a way more bigger runs than Wolford and Macaulay, of course. But it's a 3-car pack here at the front with Ireland, Gibson, and Peden leading the way. So this could very well be that 3-car pack that's going to fight for those top 3 stage points here in this first stage, as now we're on lap 22. Although I do kind of wonder if this other pack might catch up in time, as we have... That would be... My math brain is not working. 4 laps to go, I believe it would be. 3.
3 at this flag. It's lap 22
yeah, 3 at this
right
flag,
now.
yeah. I think the humidity might be getting to me.
That's what they all say.
Yeah. So it'll be 3 laps to go here in stage 1 when they come back around. This other pack does very much look like they are catching up. I don't know if it's going to be enough there for the last lap, though. Again, though, that's 6 cars versus 3, so that's pretty much times 2.
Yeah, that just should add to the power of that draft, and ultimately you'd think they'd be able to pull in that lead group, kind of like your Tour de France peloton.
Indeed, so Hurdle is all alone right here with Paytak, Higginbottom, and Young catching up. Butler and Cox drafting together, Magrum all the way back here. There's Scott Bailey, Dylan Baum, Tom Janikowski, then there's Daniel Cudmore. Everyone is on the lead lap. So, between Ireland and Marini, that would be 3 seconds separating those guys right there, as we're coming to 2 laps to go here in the first stage. So I don't think it's going to be enough for them to catch up by the looks of it, running about relatively the same speed. So I would imagine this is going to be the stage 1 finish right here, as I'm surprised I didn't mention this until now, even though it's been pretty much a given. You can see it visually, but we are, of course, racing under the lights here at Daytona instead of back at the GTR 250, where we were racing under daytime, like, you know, the usual Daytona 500. But, you know, it's the Daytona summer race. We got to run under night, and thankfully this time around, there's no Mother Nature to disturb us.
Indeed so, and yeah, this top 3, they're just kind of leaving a path of destruction here right now. And again, the guys who are 1-2 right now, Jared Ireland and Ryan Gibson, we mentioned it earlier, fantastic showing for those 2, along with Michael Langley and, of course, Andy Hurdle at this past weekend's iRacing 24 Hours of Spa, presented by Falcon Tire, finishing second in their particular split with somewhere close to 600 laps completed, 581, 582, somewhere in that ballpark. Very impressive effort by all 4 of those drivers.
Indeed, incredible representation for the Canadian Motorsports Network. That's what we want to keep seeing from here on out, especially if we ever get the special event stuff going. But we are coming around the final corners here on the final lap of Stage 1. Jared Ireland leading the way, and I believe that would be 6 stage wins?
That would be number 6 if it holds, yeah. That would be the most of any driver.
That will do it there for the first stage, as this other pack is going to come around right here. Jared Ireland is going to win Stage 1 of the Firecracker 200. That'll be his 6th stage victory of the season through 13 races now. Again, there's still 2 more stages left here to maybe get him maybe to 8 if he decides to go all out for that, but judging by the order here, it looks as though Ireland's going to take first, Ryan Gibson will take second, Jonathan Peden will wrap up the podium, Mike Marini will take 4th. Again, after we look at this driver tab, he led 14 laps, 14 of the 25 stage 1 laps, of course. A very good job from him. Again, a guy, he's in 17th in the overall points right now, that first out of 4 guys below the cut line that needs to win in order to get in. And then you got Jose... Sorry?
I was going to say, Marini's made his job maybe a little bit easier here. 7 points in that stage.
Yes.
None for Jason Butler. So that cuts the bubble gap to 15. It was 22 to start the night.
So would you say, if you made some calculations, is there a chance we could see it come down to points maybe?
It would be very tight. Both guys guaranteed a minimum of 17 points by virtue of having 20 drivers start tonight. So theoretically, you could say, like, you add those 17 on now, that would put Marini at kind of a live total of 299, Butler a live total of 314 effectively. So, like, there's a possibility that points could come into play. Marini's going to need a strong stage 2 to make that happen, make Butler sweat a little bit more, but it's not out of the question.
Indeed, so we'll continue the rest of the stage order here, just in case some cars decide to come down pit road. Jose Mercado gets 5th, Darcy Ford 6th, Corbin McCauley 7th, Justin Belmonte 8th, Michael Wolfer will take 9th, and wrapping up with that one extra stage point is going to be the number 21 of Matthew Patek, and just falling short of stage points are Ty Higginbottom, Hunter Young, Andy Hurdle. There's Jason Butler, as was mentioned by you, in 14th, Cox 15th, Magrum 16th, Bailey 17th, Janikowski 18th, Dylan Baum 19th, and Daniel Cudmore is the lucky dog back there in 20th. He was one lap down. And so everyone here on pit road under the stage caution. No incidents yet thus far, which is nice to see, although I may have very well just jinxed that right there. Ryan Gibson's going to be the first car off pit road. Second's going to be Peden. Third is Ireland, and trouble for Mike Marini, spinning off the pit exit right there, right out of his pit box, and that could be, again, it's still kind of early, but that could be potentially catastrophic for him, because again, though, you were mentioning, Jordy, there is a slight chance that points could be the factor instead of a win, but honestly, I would say it's much safer just to try and go for the win instead. So hopefully what just happened there with Marini doesn't carry on to the rest of the race. Again, the number 12 is still in 12th after those pit stops, so it's not over just yet. He could easily get his way back up to the front. We were seeing how consistent he was able to stay up there at the front, knowing his speed on the bigger tracks. He could make it look easy as anything, as he's actually catching up by the looks of it. Maybe he's actually in a better position, I would say. Maybe 8th place by the looks of it, as he's now slowing down. Or no, he's getting... What is going on?
Not entirely sure, but I can give you a little bit more insight on that point picture you were talking about, because by adding a couple of stage points, Ryan Gibson adding 9 there, Michael Wolford grabbing a couple for himself, they're now mathematically locked into the playoffs as well. So top 14 going into tonight, they're all guaranteed now to move on as of the end of stage 1. They're all going to be in competition for the Earl Ross Cup.
So that would mean, guys, towards the bottom there, that would be like Michael Wolford, Ryan Gibson, Jonathan Peden, Dylan Baum, like all guys like that.
Will do.
And I had to kind of go into a loop there because I was hearing the voice chat. I'm not supposed to have that playing, of course, but yeah, again, those names I was just mentioning right there, all those guys can consider themselves safe. They will fight for an Earl Ross Cup here in Season 4. But again, Andy Hurdle and Jason Butler in 15th and 16th. They're not entirely safe just yet. Well, Hurdle might be a little bit more than Butler.
Live number on that. Hurdle is at 327 as of right this second. Marini at 282. So 45-point gap. Max point you can pull from here would be 50,
after the
but
lane
Hurdle's got
line.
17 guaranteed anyway, so you could go ahead and you could pretty well say he's going to be locked in eventually, just not right this particular second.
So yeah, I just got word there what happened with Mike Marini. Actually, I'm not surprised by this reasoning. It's expected. He spun after at the exit of pit road. It was after the line. So he still keeps his spot there in 4th place. So actually, that was not all catastrophic. Marini's still there in 4th. He keeps his... If my memory sucks, was it 4th in stage 1 that he got?
It was, yes.
Okay, yeah, so he keeps his spot. He spun after the line, the exit line there on pit road. So it's all safe for him. Again, that was a very, very close call. But anyways, he's still up there in 4th. Ryan Gibson leading the way. We're going to get back to green here at Daytona International Speedway. The Firecracker 200, Stage 2, less than 25 laps. We're underway.
Yeah, 21 from here remaining in this stage. So we got ourselves 4 caution laps in that particular stoppage. So a little bit of a shorter sprint here. We'll have to see if some different strategies come into play.
Indeed, and the sun is setting a lot more here tonight in Daytona Beach, Florida. I can only imagine for stage 3 we're going to be completely under the lights. And as we're seeing here, as the cars are down the back straightaway, cars are trying to squeeze into that inside line. We saw that with Mark Cox, who just had a bit of a disappearing moment right there, and we also saw it with, I believe that might have been Darcy Ford there, but I'm looking more towards the back. Yes, that would be the 93 of Tom Janikowski going towards the back of the field here, trying to stay behind everyone and, try to avoid any potential carnage that could happen. Again, kind of the trend that we've been seeing here throughout Season 4. It's usually Stage 2 and onward, or maybe Stage 3 where things start to pick up. Again, Stage 1 is usually, it's all, it usually is, there's a green flag run the whole way, and then Stage 2 and onward, it literally, anything's possible, anything can happen. It's been very, very inconsistent every single race. It's been a roller coaster that we've witnessed, but I would say on average, it's usually Stage 2 whenever we start to get things rolling. I know back at Daytona with the GTR 250, it was the final lap of Stage 2 where we saw the first, and I believe it might have been the only big wreck of the race. There was like a 3 or 4 car wreck, I think, actually there might have been, in Stage 1. Again, though, maybe we could call that race an exception because it was our first one on the iRacing service, of course, but our first big wreck didn't happen until the end of Stage 2, so we're going to see here the field might try to maybe have a bit of a more clean record and keep everything more towards the 3rd stage, which I think is kind of a similar thing we saw back at Talladega in a way there, which Talladega, again, the first super speedway race without the fast repair, and that went relatively well. And this one here, the first one back at Daytona, that difference there, GTR 250 did have the fast repair, but then here we don't in the return, so a lot of different, a lot of transitioning right there and such, but again, these guys are keeping it clean so far, other than maybe pit road.
Yep, that is a fair assessment, and it's an assessment I was glad to hear because if you recall, I was not on commentary for that first Daytona race, so it's nice to have that refresher.
About that.
Yeah, I wasn't around. I did watch a little bit of it after the fact, of course. But, ultimately, I got what I needed. Justin Belmonte got what he needed that night, and he was trying to do it again, although I don't see him up near the top of the board right this second. Top spot belongs to Michael Wolford, a guy who, he hasn't won a race in the series yet, and I just see Hunter Young making the move for the lead. Of course, he won Talladega a few weeks ago. And, yeah, I think with all these lead changes, I think it would be a fool's errand to try and predict anything.
Yeah, pretty much. We're getting a bunch of lead changes. If we look at the race summary very quickly, 10 lead changes, and yet there's now just under 20 laps to go in Stage 2, so we are 33 laps into this race now in lap 34, and there's already been 10 lead changes and 7 different leaders, which... would you know if there's any lead change or different leader record by any sort?
It's not jumping out at me right away. I think we had a fair few lead changes at either Texas or North Wilkesboro as well. I think Texas, just last week. So that could just be the field tightening up as well.
Indeed, I don't recall it. I don't have an exact number. I'd have to go back and watch the stream and actually take a look there, go through the stream and see where we might have taken a look at that, but again, here so far, we've had, 10 lead changes, 7 different leaders. Hunter Young leading the way. He got his first career victory back at Talladega, of course, in what was a wild finish, completely full of carnage. He was able to make his way through, and Jared Ireland just fell short to him, of course, finishing in second place right there. And you know what? As a matter of fact, look at this here in second place. We got the two last Super Speedway winners. It's also Matthew Patak, who got his first career victory back in Atlanta.
But notably, Patak doesn't have any help right now. A little bit of assistance now coming from that high line in the form of Michael Wolford first, but for a brief moment there, Patak was kind of in no man's land, and that's going to allow the lower line to take an advantage here out of turn 2 onto that back straight.
Indeed, and looking here at our chat for the people watching here, 8 watching so far. We got 1 like. We appreciate those that have tuned in for this regular season finale for Season 4 of the Canadian Motorsports Network NASCAR Series. I see Rebecca Larrick, however you say that name. I'm not great at pronouncing names whatsoever, but Rebecca, you're cheering on the number 21 of Matthew Patak. He's right up there looking for his second victory of the season and second on a super speedway, and you're even saying watch out for the 41. Yes, we all know about the aggressiveness of Jose Mercado. We know how fast he is on the big tracks.
And in a do-or-die race.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I remember even back at Daytona how aggressive he was. And again, we're not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. There are going to be those guys that, are going to be aggressive and, want to go for it no matter what. As for maybe deciding on when they want to do that, it seems like Mercado chooses really any time in particular. So, again, that's just the way he is. You're going to have those guys that are conservative. You'll have guys that will want to be aggressive and go for it at any time possible because, I guess it's just self-explanatory right there. But, that's just part of the diversity throughout this field here that we have for Season 4 of the NASCAR Series, first season on iRacing, of course, and what has been quite a transition for a lot of these guys. But the top 4 are now single file here on the inside line. That would be Hunter Young, Jonathan Peden, Mike Marini here back up to the front. We got Mark Cox now up front after being more towards the back of the field, hoping that things would shake up and he would then eventually take advantage. But no, he's decided to be up here in his number 98 Kit Kat Ford. Again, Cox has had some pretty good finishes on super speedways. He finished in... I still have that memory fog occurring.
There's a couple of second places in there. I'll pull up Sim Racer Hub.
Now I have it. He finished second at Atlanta, and then he finished third at Talladega. He also too finished 8th back in the season opener at Daytona. So he's finished in the top. He's finished on the podium and the top 5 twice, and in the top 10 all 3 times. So if there's anyone below the cut line that could very well win their way into the Earl Ross Cup playoffs, Mark Cox is a guy to keep an eye on. And speaking of guys to keep an eye on too and making picks as well, we still haven't made our picks yet on our, our 3 picks.
I think that would be foolish tonight.
I think I'm just going to get the picks over with. I'm not really going to do a whole bunch of explaining, just say them outright, see what happens. My 3 guys, you went first last time. I let you go ahead of Texas. I'm going to go first this time around. I've got Jared Ireland, Andy Hurdle, and for this 3rd pick, I have a rule here where one of our picks has to be either Jason Butler or one of the guys below the cut line. So, in other words, you either say, okay, Butler's going to, he's going to make his way in, he'll be just fine, one of the guys above the cut line is going to win, maybe he wins, or maybe one of those guys takes him out of that 16 spot and they claim that final spot in the Earl Ross Cup playoffs. My decision, and I think I already said this to you earlier, Daniel Cudmore.
That is a very interesting pick. I believe he's, 19th right now?
He would be 19th.
But you only have to be there in the end.
No, that is
all that matters.
That's the factor I'm trying to play off of right now. He's a conservative guy who, again, looking at results that we've seen from him on the bigger tracks, and he's actually had quite the surge in many of the past rounds that he's participated here in the series. He actually didn't even show up to Daytona. He wasn't able to. He finished 3rd at Atlanta, 9th at Talladega, and he's only got in the past 3, 4, 5, 6 races, he's only had one finish outside the top 10, which, again, for that momentum that he has, it's disappointing knowing that he's really below the cut line and needs a win to get in. And it's even more tragic, too, knowing if Cudmore wins his way in, or, pretty much anyone below the cut line, you have to take out Jason Butler. So it's just like, yay, you made your way in, but you just took out one of the committee guys, so...
What did you just finish saying about not explaining your picks?
I did with Ireland and Hurdle, okay?
Yeah, I kind of had to give you a little bit of the gears on that one as these guys try and find top gear here with Matthew Patak at the top of the board. Yeah, I guess that'll be a good transition into my 3 picks here. And, I'm going to start with, the rule that you put in place. And, there are some, all 4 of those guys below 16th, they're all compelling options in their own different ways. But we've already seen it here tonight. I think out of that group, I think Mike Marini would be my guy out of those 5, because you've already seen that he's comfortable here at Daytona. He's a guy that, he's not afraid to get his elbows out when it matters. And he's a guy who can put down a fast lap when you need it. So that is the kind of guy you want at the very end, I would say. And so, yeah, Mike Marini, our pole sitter tonight, again, it has to be noted, and is in fact noted in that graphic. He's going to be my pick for 16 and outside, we'll call that. So that leaves my other 2 picks, and I am going to go... I think one of them, I'm going to say Gibby could be there at the very end. So Ryan Gibson will be one of my picks, kind of just outside the top 10 right now, but just finished second in that last stage. And again, a previous winner of the Daytona night race, so not a bad guy to have. And, you left him open. Why not? Well, no, I'm not going to go with Corbin McCauley as we see pit stops. He has absolutely... Well, basically, he'd just be padding his lead, which is already massive, and will be beginning with next week's points reset. But outside of that, I think...
Whoa, trouble behind them. Jason Butler, as this first group comes onto pit road, he spins into a pit box. So we were talking about him earlier with points, and even, too, making sure that no one below the cut line wins a race. That could be... catastrophic right there for the number 10.
And again, we're at 5 laps remaining in this stage already. Where in the world did that time go? And Jason Butler is going to be wondering the same thing, as he's kind of doing the Austin Powers 1 routine there toward the very end, if you recall that. But yeah, not the way the number 10 had this envisioned, to say the very least.
Indeed, so I'm trying to see if anyone else is going to eventually come down pit road, but we have Patak, Wolford, and Butler in there. And Mark Cox, actually, his name disappeared for a second while he was in his box, so that kind of about gave me a heart attack right there, as he also disappears for a second right there, but he's still going. 3 cars now a lap down in Janikowski, Butler, and Cox. So again, your picks being Mike Marini, Ryan Gibson, and who's the other guy?
I was about to get to Scott Bailey being my third.
Okay, Scott Bailey. Yeah, that's
just with the overdue factor. I hadn't actually gotten the name out. Ooh. I was about to, but just hadn't happened just yet. So
yeah, that'd be Gibby, Marini, and Bailey for you, and then with me, it's Ireland, Hurdle, and Daniel Cudmore. So, and surprisingly enough, or I don't even know if it'd be surprisingly enough for the super speedways, really, but fun fact, none of our picks were Corbin McCauley.
I very nearly went with Corbin McCauley.
Okay.
I was debating between him and Scott Bailey for that last one.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I know he's super competitive, and you would know that better than anybody else.
Yes.
But tonight, I really don't think, outside of, those 5 playoff points, there really isn't a reason for Corbin McCauley to go like super heavy into things. He's already got, 35 bonus points going in.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas for him, it's more of a want. For Scott Bailey, a guy, he's won 5 stages, but getting an additional 5 playoff points for a win tonight, that's more of a need, because that would put him up the standings significantly.
Indeed so, and again, McCauley on the Super Speedway, 2nd at Daytona, 8th at Atlanta, which he quite literally could have had 2nd or 3rd, but he and Scott Bailey had a moment, of course, coming off of Turn 4, and then at Talladega, he was up there at the front, and I think it was even him and Bailey again. Bailey was in front, McCauley was 2nd, and then, of course, a bunch of cars started catching up after that last green flag pit window. McCauley moves up as Mangrum tries to make a move, and McCauley gets turned to the outside wall. So, again, I remember too back at Talladega, I decided not to go with McCauley for a pick because I just knew that he's got the speed on the super speedways, but he just doesn't have the results. So, again, he does in the intermediates, but for the super speedways, just really hasn't been able to get much done. And right now, he's just kind of, it doesn't really matter too much for him. But at the end, though, if there is an opportunity to go for victory, then he will definitely go for it. But right now, we're coming here to the final lap of this second stage, lap 50. Andy Hurdle leading the way, and I would imagine this right here, if he's able to stay in front and claim the stage victory, he's practically locked in.
Well, yeah, he absolutely would be, but not only that, he'd be adding himself a playoff point for the stage win if he's able to hold on. So that will come into play immediately.
And so we see a couple of cars jostling back and forth there as they're all trying to get around and take advantage of stage points. But, and about this, here comes Scott Bailey looking for a run. He's going to go to the high side and try and side draft with Andy Hurdle. Is Bailey
Ohio and Michigan going at it.
Is he going to clear? Oh, he barely did. An incredible block right there.
It was barely.
So at the green checker flag, whatever, Scott Bailey is going to steal the stage. And we're getting some almost 3-wide racing right here for these final couple spots. And they're getting really close trying to get these extra stage points right here. It's Mercado in front of Paytack, and that'd be Higginbottom right there. Higginbottom's going to go for it, but this pack is going to come to the line. There's the stage caution. And, wow, a lot of good battles in that second pack right there. But how about that, though? The 88 just stole a stage victory right there from Andy Hurdle, who was that close right there. But Bailey, I actually didn't really even see him there whenever we were coming to the white flag right there, so it must have been a hell of a run that he got. But I would imagine second place for Hurdle, he's still locked in, I would imagine.
That is more than sufficient, yes.
Yes, yeah. So, I definitely want to take the ticker off here and go back because I was not expecting that surge to happen right there. Something must have happened. We'll take a look right here. So Bailey gets the run behind Baum. He side drafts him, gets past him, also gets past Belmonte. Look at that speed right there, even with kind of some lackluster help in a way. He drafts behind Hurdle, side drafts him, and then look at this squeeze right here, right in front of him. How on earth did that not result in a spin right there? That is unbelievable work from the 88 of Scott Bailey. Hurdle must have had the brown pants maybe after that one.
Man, I haven't seen that firm of a door slam since I was a child.
Oh, Jesus. Well, so that happened right there. I believe some cars may have just come off pit road, or maybe they're coming around this time. Don't know for sure. But just looking at where the top 10 is right now, Bailey leading the way, Belmonte second, Mercado third, Higginbottom fourth, Jonathan Peden fifth, C.D. Mangrum in sixth, Matthew Paytack in seventh, Michael Wolfert eighth, Darcy Ford's in ninth. Corbin McCauley wraps up the top 10 right now, although I do recall, though, at the end of the second stage, he was outside the was outside the stage points right there. We could simply just take the ticker off and go all the way back to see how it all ended. So
I've also got the YouTube broadcast in the background,
yes,
so I can.
I think I might have it right here, actually. It'd be Bailey, Belmonte, Mercado, Higginbottom, Peden, Magram, Paytack, Wolford, Ford. Or maybe Macaulay did. I'm trying to really go back here and see. So there's Higginbottom, Peden, Magram, Paytack, Wolford, Ford. Okay, no, that was the top 10 there, actually, that claimed those top 10 positions. Mike Marini falling just short of that one extra point. So, in fact, Macaulay did end up getting a stage point right there. I thought he was behind there. I miscalculated the where everyone was there, of course. Now everyone here on pit road looks like there's no issues here. No one's spinning or wrecking or anything. But again, we still have to have these guys come off of pit road. Again, we saw Mike Marini there spinning, coming out of pit road, and thankfully he was able to regain his position as his spin was behind the line, and there's the trouble. I was literally saying right there.
Well, that's Wolford.
Yeah, that's why I was saying we still have to wait until everyone comes off of pit road. Everyone was able to come into pit road by the looks of it just fine, and into their boxes just fine, but Wolford with trouble there coming off of the pit lane. And was he... Yep, contact with Darcy Ford coming off the pit lane there. Thankfully, Wolford not getting into that safer barrier right there at the pit exit. But he's still going. I don't know if he'll... I wonder if he'll have the same situation as Mike Marini, where he'll be able to catch back up and keep a position. I don't know for sure, but we will eventually see as everyone will come back around here to the pace car. Justin Belmonte leading the way with, look at that, Jose Mercado in second place. Again, we were talking about his aggressive driving throughout the season. You have that guy in second place with the third and final stage about to get underway at Daytona, of all places. Regular season finale. Everything's on the line for the number 41, and I mean, we've seen Mercado win on a super speedway before. Was it just that one time at Talladega, or has he won multiple times?
Let me go back to season 1 very quickly.
I think it was just once. I think I might be wrong, because I do recall whenever I was making the description for the live stream back at Talladega, he was a past winner. But I don't think he has a Daytona. But again, though, you being here since the very beginning, you definitely would have that either in mind more. You might have that research in front of you quicker than I do.
It certainly does check out. So season 1 victories for Mercado, you go back to Chicagoland, New Hampshire, and Dover. Season 2 was just the Talladega victory, if I recall. And yes, that's correct.
And then season 3 was Gateway?
Ding, ding, ding. The man's got it. Gateway and Phoenix, although... No, he did get into the Championship 4 with the win at Phoenix. That's right.
Yes, yeah.
So yeah. in essence, he's a guy who knows how to win when it matters. He's done it twice.
Still hasn't done it yet this season, though. And again, his transition to iRacing has definitely been something that we've been watching. Definitely been a storyline to witness, of course. But again, we're coming to this third and final stage of the regular season here. Season 4 for the Canadian Motorsports Network NASCAR Series. The first season on iRacing. This will be the final... Math checks out. It'll be the final 25 laps here at both Daytona and in the regular season. So we're going to step back here and go to the TrackCams22.com, crank it up. We thank them for emphasizing and enhancing our broadcasts here for our first season on iRacing. Of course, we appreciate it. Never mind, we've got trouble in the back. Mark Cox and Andy Hurdle go around, the caution's out, and I may have just jinxed everything. Calamity now?
Well, luckily, I don't think the pace car ever stopped. It just zoomed right through pit lane right in front of us.
Caution, Regan. No. Crank it up.
So yeah, that we'll have to definitely delay the crank it up now because of that.
Might just be cranking up some drama.
I mean, it's the third, again, we were saying final 25 laps. Well, eventually it will be the final 25 laps of this time around it will be the next final 25 laps of the regular season and the final 25 laps we have at Daytona. So we'll have to check back here and see what happened between Mark Cox and Andy Hurdle. Oh, did Mike Marini get involved somehow?
Well, I guess we're about to find out, aren't we?
Okay, so a checkup happens. And, oh boy.
Yeah, there's the contact. Marini into the back of Hurdle. Again, Hurdle, he can breathe a little bit easier having just officially mathematically qualified for the Earl Ross Cup playoffs, but still, not the way he wanted to celebrate, I don't think, as we'll get another look at it.
And again, you were talking about Hurdle there too. He's pretty much safe. But Mark Cox, on the other hand, though, he needs to win to get in, so that is definitely going to be... That's not the ideal situation for him, but I would imagine hopefully there's not much damage on his car. He and Hurdle didn't take, bad hits to the outside wall there, so maybe a little bit of minor damage, but I don't think it should be anything that'll cost him a chance at victory and at that final spot in the Earl Ross Cup playoffs. But we got a cockpit view here from Mike Marini.
Another guy very much in that last chance saloon situation here as well.
Yeah, and I would say with Marini, that might be a potential reputation destroyer with one or two other guys right there. But that's two guys below the cut line getting involved in stuff. I mean, Marini's still able to keep it straight, but it just... it's like we're getting those flashes back from that little test race we did before the season that wasn't broadcasted, where he, on the final lap, was aggressive, and, he still was able to win, but it came at the cost of a bunch of other guys going around, so... Anyways...
The other variable in that, the contact came from the back, but, again, the... checkup is something that probably warrants a little bit more of a look there as well, because eventually you run out of room.
Yeah, indeed so. And I would say with Marini from his cockpit view, maybe he judged the gap between Hurdle and Cox just a little, not the best way. But again, it seems I would assume everyone probably should be just fine. We're seeing Dylan Baum here on pit road. He wasn't involved in anything, but I wonder if there might be something here related to maybe fuel, or he's going for right side tires, as we can see right there. Also, going to go over the left sides, but Mark Cox is on the track right now. Andy Hurdle now one lap down. He's just coming off pit road with 4 laps led there, of course. If I go back here very quickly, he was indeed on pit road trying to fix some repairs and even get some tires by the looks of it. Other guys were coming down pit road as well. Jason Butler was one of those guys. But the field coming around here through the tri-oval at the start-finish line. And I do wonder if we're going to be going green this time. We will. The lights are off. Everyone's going to go double file here, and we're going to try this one more time right here. We're going to be going green with, that'll be
22 at the line.
22, yes. Thank goodness for your quick math.
Well, I mean, I have my moments, but what that does is that makes Dylan Baum's pit stop that much more interesting, I think, because 22-lap stint under green.
Oh, he's back on pit road.
I was going to say, is this live?
This is live. Yes, he's back on pit road.
So I was about to say that would be a very interesting pit stop strategy, because 22 laps, typically the field's been coming in after 20 green flag laps for pit stops at this point, and I wonder, was that a penalty stop, because that was quick.
Yeah, Hurdle came around as well. I wonder if that might be the same case with him, unless it might be a repair or just maybe, strategy case. But whatever it is, realistically probably penalties. But anyways, Andy Hurdle now remains the only car a lap down, so he's going to have to rely on a caution here where he hopefully, doesn't get involved. Dylan Baum's still in the lead lap. Mark Cox up there in 15th. So leading the way here when we get to 22 laps to go in the Firecracker 200 and in this third and final stage is going to be Justin Belmonte, the GTR 250 Daytona winner to start off the season, versus CD Magram, who's another fast guy on the super speedways. But again, though, he's headed a little bit more messy. We mentioned before the race, of course, at Atlanta going up in the air just before the white flag, and then at Talladega, again involved in incidents on the last lap. But you know what? We'll try it this time. The TrackCams22.com, crank it up. Let's see what happens this time around. So that was the TrackCams22.com Crank It Up. Right there, we thank TrackCams22.com very much for their oval package custom cameras, of course, that really enhance our broadcasts here, make them really professional in the Canadian Motorsports Network for Season 4 of the NASCAR Series here on iRacing. So we appreciate them very much. We'll be definitely having, using their cameras whenever the Dart Series comes around for their next season come September, October?
Early October, I believe.
Early October.
There's a couple of weeks between the end of NASCAR and the beginning of the Dart Series because we can't use that other term.
It starts with an I, but that's it.
Independent vehicles.
Yes, perfect. But anyways, back on topic here, of course, and I might as well shout out the other sponsors here as well. Holland Hurricanes, Kyle's Fried Chicken, Rampage Coffee Co., Wing Snob, who sponsored last week's race back at Texas, GTR, and of course we used SimWrap Market for one race. I believe it was back at Atlanta because the only for TrackCams22.com, the only custom cameras that they had available for Atlanta was with the old oval, not the new one. So SimWrap Market helped us out with the new oval cameras, so we appreciate them for tagging along for one race, of course, and if we ever use them again, then of course we do appreciate their cameras. But again, right back to this, we're now at 15 laps to go in the Firecracker 200. Justin Belmonte leading the way, looking for his second victory at Daytona, looking to sweep the Daytona races here in Season 4. We're seeing some jostling here back and forth as most cars up front are single file. If I get a wider camera going out here, I can see how many that would be. That would be 8 cars, up to 8th right there with Ryan Gibson. And I did notice during the Crank It Up right there, Jared Ireland had a moment where I think he got into the wall and might have been on the back straightaway, if my memory recalls correctly right there, and he fell all the way back here to 19th. Meanwhile, Andy Hurdle right here is in this back pack, which is far behind here. This pack up here just coming off of turn 2. Meanwhile, this other pack still going through turns 1 and 2. They're just, I would imagine they have a feeling that something might start to stir up here. And speaking of that, we're starting to get some more double file racing up here. Ryan Gibson goes up to the top. Belmonte clear in the way, but now second place side by side between Mercado and Ryan Gibson. Matthew Patek following in behind the number 23. Jonathan Pedon's up here as well. So that is one guy up here up front in this top 5 looking to make their way into the Earl Ross Cup playoffs with a win. Meanwhile, other guys, Mark Cox is 11th. Daniel Cudmore's 15th. We know about Jason Butler in 16th. He's back in 17th. And then there was there another name I was missing there, or did I get everyone?
Well, Marini dropped
Marini
17th.
Yes, Marini 17th. That's the name I forgot right there. But now look at this. Ryan Gibson's now leading the way as that high side gains the bigger run. Patek in about almost squeezed right there in front of the bumper of Justin Belmonte. So the top 2 single file might be top 3 here on the outside. Now to the middle and the inside goes Gibson and Patek. Oh, but Gibson being aggressive right there, trying to stay in front of Matthew Patek. Again, Gibson looking for his first win in a very long time, while Patek's looking to get his second victory of the season. It'd be a second on the Super Speedway.
And things were just spicy a moment ago on the leaderboard. Mercado and Cox were 6th and 7th at one point. Cox dropping now to 11th. But that's the majority of the field. You're seeing pretty well still in a pack right now. Nobody really dropped off the back just yet. Top 13 separated by, less than 2 seconds?
Yeah, pretty much about that here as we see some of these guys back here. And then 12 seconds behind the leader, that would be Daniel Cudmore leading the way of Bob Marini, Ireland, Butler, Janikowski, and the lap car of Andy Hurdle there behind Cudmore. But everyone going single file here as I Don't know if this might have something to do with potential green flag pit stops, or maybe these guys are just kind of logging laps and waiting to get a little bit more aggressive once we get to maybe around the final 5 laps or so here in this regular season finale at Daytona.
It's 10 at the line.
It will be 10 laps to go at the line, 10 laps to go in the regular season. And in this second and final race here at Daytona, we'll have one more Super Speedway race to do here in Season 4 as Tom Janikowski. It'll be at Talladega, but now there's Tom Janikowski who goes a lap down. He'll try to find a hole somewhere, trying to find a gap somewhere in this front pack to stay with them. And I would say right now, unless he ends up falling back to the second pack and gets in behind Andy Hurdle, Janikowski would be the lucky dog if we get a caution here. And he's not involved.
Also a very fair point, but maybe a little bit of a moot one. We'll have to see, because again, it wouldn't have an impact on the final standings here as Ryan Gibson continues to lead the field here as we just tick down to 9 laps to go. There it is.
Yep.
And you know what? This is kind of like the back 9 on Sunday at Augusta. The race at Daytona really doesn't start until you're in the single lap remaining territory.
Indeed, so we are in that first lap there of single number laps to go, and right now Gibson and Paytak still leading the way right there. Gibson, how long has it been since he's won a race? I would assume it would be 2021.
Correct, 2 seasons, and again, it was this very Daytona night race the last time he won.
And so what better way would it be for him to get his first win on the iRacing service, his first win here in Season 4, by winning at Daytona once again? It'd be for this case right there. But anyways, and then Paytak again looking for that second victory of the season. Michael Wolford still looking for his first career victory. Scott Bailey is also another guy that, like Gibby, is looking for his first win since 2021. I believe it was in June. Yeah, was it Michigan? Might have been that track, I think.
I was going to say there were definitely some playoff races in there. Let me just
I have it written down somewhere, but I don't know where it is. Oh, and about that, here we go. We're going to get some green flag pit stops. This is definitely going to shake things up. It's a 4-car pack coming down pit road here with 8 laps to go. 7 laps to go now, actually.
And so for Scott Bailey, you have to go back to the Charlotte Roval, actually. As you say, June 15th.
Oh, the Roval, all right, yes.
21, that last victory.
Oh, and I'm hearing here from the other side of my wall here, I think there might have been an issue here. I think McCauley may have taken tires when he didn't want to.
And again, if there's one guy that's absolutely not going to affect tonight, that would be the guy. But still unfortunate in that kind of final sequence.
And coming down pit lane is this other big pack right here led by Justin Belmonte. Oh, and I think there might have been a little bit of contact from behind. Mercado in the wall. I think that might have been with Higginbottom, and Magram also tagged the wall there as well as another pack comes around the tri-oval. And Magram is going to lose a ton of spots right there as he has trouble in his pit stall. So a bunch of cars coming off the pit lane right there.
One going in reverse, though, that being Jose Mercado. That is absolutely not the direction he wanted to be going, to say the very least.
Indeed so. So leading the way now is the 88 of Scott Bailey behind the lap car of Janikowski's back on the lead lap. Oh, and there's trouble! Open! Oh, it's going to go Wolford! He's upside down through the end of the tri-oval with 5 laps to go, and that's going to change everything!
Right in the aftermath of the green flag pit stops.
Oh, goodness.
You had a feeling it was coming.
So just like Talladega, we're going to get that late caution, and we're going to have one restart here to decide who's going to win.
How many
the
wide
Firecracker
can Daytona
200.
possibly go? We're going to see it.
Exactly, but that was definitely not the way I was expecting it, but I mean, at the same time, no surprise that we got a car up and over. I am baffled by that one. Good.
Yeah,
gracious.
I mean, at this point, that infield lake isn't safe.
Yeah. Someone's going to end up in Lake Lloyd somehow. But we're going to take a look here at what happened. We saw Janikowski and Bailey catching up. A big run for Janikowski. He goes up high. And... yeah.
Oh!
Good gracious. Hard hit for Wolford. He goes up and over, sliding down through the trial. It reminds me of an ARCA crash where a 3-wide situation got a little too close and a car went up and over and skidded down through the end of the tri-oval, and that resulted in the end of the race. So, definitely not the way we wanted to see that come to an end right there, and we'll get a fan angle right here. Good gracious.
Yeah, that was some heavy contact there. And again, Wolford, that is, we were talking about Mercado being in reverse, not being a good place to be. Having your wheels on the ground, or not on the ground, is significantly worse.
A great camera angle right there, but I'm surprised by the way Janikowski went up to him right there, like just a bad decision making, like just bad judgment on the side drafting, or like I don't know what to say to that one.
Yeah, that one's a little bit strange, especially, Janikowski was, toward the back of the field as well, it should be noted. And yeah, there's the onboard with Wolford, who just kind of got rolled over.
Oh, God.
Too late.
Yeah.
You already laughed. Too late.
I had to. Yeah, we both make incredible jokes every time, but anyways, though, Wolford's pretty much locked in the playoffs anyways, so no biggie for him right there, but definitely not the way he wanted to end off the regular season, of course, as I'm going to see if anyone did come down pit road. Yes, a bunch of cars actually did. We'll take the ticker off here very quickly just to take a look at this. Scott Bailey, Dylan Baum down pit road, and I believe that's Jared Ireland. Corbin McCauley also coming down pit road. So, I was saying earlier too, like, we could, the green flag pit window, it could change things up, and personally, I didn't want to see it kind of play out like the GTR 250 did, where we only had a 3-car pack going for it at the end with Belmonte, McCauley, and Dylan Baum. And it seems like I got my wish right there, because something out of nowhere happened right in front of us. And what do you know?
Look at that something, 1-2.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Mike Marini, 17th in points, the first guy below the cut line. Jason Butler, the number 10, 16th in points. Butler has to rely on one of the 4 guys below the cut line not winning their way into the Earl Ross Cup playoffs. If Marini wins, Butler's done. But if Marini doesn't win, and neither does Cox, who again, Mark Cox is there back in 5th. Jose Mercado's in 11th. Daniel Cudmore all the way back in 13th. Oh, and Jason Butler, what in the world just happened there?
That is a fantastic question. Hopefully not a playoff killer for him.
That is very strange.
Yeah, I can't see what's going on there.
Yeah, I'll be back here in a second.
Not enough gas.
Oh boy, Butler didn't have enough gas.
I was 1 lap short.
He was
under caution for that to happen.
He was 1 lap short of fuel.
That, I hate
That
to say
could
it, under caution, I hate to say it, that's driver error. A miscalculation.
That could, knowing we have Mike Marini and Mark Cox up here in first and fourth, that could be catastrophic for Butler's season right there. And knowing the roller coaster of a season that he has had, he certainly wouldn't want to, end off that kind of regular season roller coaster on that note, and it could very well end off like that. But again, though, that's two cars in the top 5. Well, actually, no, if we look at the whole top 10, that's 3 of the 10 cars that need to win to make their way in. So, again, the other 7 guys, if any of those other 7 guys win, Butler's safe. But still, there's more of an advantage with guys that are over the cut line and, would be just fine for Butler. But still, there are those 3 guys there we know how fast all 3 of them are, and we know how aggressive they can be, especially Marini and Mercado. So, buckle your seatbelts, grab some popcorn. It's time for a 2-lap shootout to end the regular season here at Daytona. 2 laps to go on the Firecracker 200. Here we go. Mike Marini with a huge jump. And
this is going to be a firecracker of a finish.
This is not going to help Marini because they're going to get a massive run here on the number 12. And my stomach's already getting butterflies right here. I bet yours are hopefully too. There's almost contact between Ford Higginbottom and Belmonte. Hunter Young being aggressive in behind right there as well.
Marini immediately swallowed up.
It would not surprise me if something happened here. Cox is going to almost go to the middle. He is wiggling hard. He's going to keep his car straight. Everyone's still going. And
this is going to sound horrible, but Cox is looking for a gap.
Oh, no. 3 wide back here. Magra McCauley and Bob. Marini's going to go around. He's going to save this. He's going to come back up. They're going to crash. Yes, they will. White flag is still out. And that's going to do it for Marini. And another car I believe that's Hunter Young. But the white flag is out.
Down the board fast here, too.
The white flag is out. There's more cars spinning towards the back. Oh, and that's going to do it for Daniel Cudmore's season right there. But we're still green. The white flag is out. Here comes Darcy Ford to the inside. He's looking for his first win in a long time. Oh, and Belmonte up into the wall. 3 wide. Oh, McCauley gets turned.
Oh, Jesus.
Ty Higginbottom to the lead. The defending series champions in front.
What in the hell
CD
is going
Magram
on
is
here?
going to try and get him. No. The 97 Ty Higginbottom is going to win the Firecracker 200 at Daytona International Speedway. It's been a while since Higginbottom has been to victory lane. His first win of the season. How about that? We've seen a different winner at every super speedway this season. Have you ever?
That was chaos from top to bottom in the field. So you asked me, have I ever? No, that is the craziest finish I have seen in the 4 seasons of the Canadian eMotorsports Network.
And they waited until the final lap to get all of that done. And would you look at that, Jason Butler giving some friendly taps to Higginbottom. There is your final driver to make the Earl Ross Cup playoffs. The number 10 of Jason Butler is in.
And, just when it seemed like absolutely everything was going wrong, because not 5 minutes ago, we were talking about driver error in relation to running out of fuel for Jason Butler. Somehow, he survives all of the chaos. Pretty well every other driver outside of maybe Jose Mercado that needed to win to get in got tied up in something. So Jason Butler, by basically keeping it on the track, navigating through anything, everything, kitchen sinks, you name it, he somehow survives, and that is how he's going to make the Earl Ross Cup playoffs for the first time.
Indeed. So, and then there was more here with Daniel Cudmore and Andy Hurdle, and then right here, Cox into the side there, Cudmore. Hunter Young. Oh, man. And then he gets hit again by Ryan Gibson. Good gracious. And then right here, Bailey, oh, wow, great avoidance for him, not for Gibson, however. So yeah, I just relayed the word there to Jason. He is in. He claims that 16th and final spot, of course. But let's take a look here at the unofficial results of the regular season finale, the Firecracker 200. I will try and get a replay here after this of every single wreck that we did see here, of course. But we'll quickly go through this. Ty Higginbottom.
Nice to hear. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, and Jason giving me a reply right there, so nice to
Got
get
a little
that.
area there at the end, but yeah.
Yeah, so Ty Higginbottom, the number 97 Toyota defending series champion, ends the regular season on a high note with a victory here at Daytona. Dylan Baum will claim second place. Scott Bailey will claim third. Andy Hurdle with a very solid run there in top 5 after literally being a lap down. Again, I believe Janikowski was on the lead lap. So he was very lucky to get that lucky dog and claim the top 5. Justin Belmonte, leading multiple laps, claims 5th. Darcy Ford finishes 6th. Matthew Paytak 7th. Jonathan Peden 8th. And then you got 2 guys at the bottom there, and Jose Mercado and Mark Cox, who were up there with an opportunity to steal the show against Jason Butler, but they will claim 9th and 10th, and neither driver is going to make the Earl Ross Cup playoffs.
And for Jose Mercado, that's his first time missing. And that's going to be a different vibe for the 41 over the next 7 weeks, as you went through the top 10 there, did you?
Say that again, sorry?
Is that where you wound up? Was the end of the top 10? I was kind of working on something in the background.
Yes, Mercado and Cox.
Okay, so yeah, now we go to, again, more unofficial results here, as you can even see the final result a little bit scrambled on our board. CD Mangrum 11th, Ryan Gibson 12th, Jason Butler 13th, barely kind of finding his way into the playoff picture because it absolutely was looking bleak there for the last little bit. You see Hunter Young a little bit further down the board, unofficially listed 14th, but listed a few spots lower. Then you've got series leader Corbin McCauley in 15th, Mike Marini, who was there right at the end, ultimately 16th. The last car technically classified on the lead lap there, although I wonder about some of the times. Then you've got Dan Cudmore and Jared Ireland a lap down. Tom Janikowski 6 laps down, and then I believe Andy Hurdle would round out the field in 20th after that incident that began stage 3.
No.
Oh, well, right, Wolford. What happened there? So Hurdle ends up 4th?
Yeah, he got 4th.
He was 20th at one point.
Yeah, I mentioned that. He was a lap down at the back of the field, and then he got the lucky dog and got 4th.
That tells you how many things just happened.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's Michael Wolford there. We'll wrap up the field in 20th, 6 laps down, of course, going up and over in a big crash through the tri-oval with Tom Janikowski.